Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear us. We had some technical problems here. But finally, we are here. We're having another breakfast stream. This time, it's really a breakfast. Last time, yeah, we were a little bit on the afternoon side of life, but still fine.
11 C's.
And I see my microphone is popping in. That wasn't the plan.
Just got a floating little. Oh,
At least I have something to play with.
you can say it's just like a little shoulder perch, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Maybe get some ears on it. It could be like a little pet mouse or something.
It's totally fitting to the franchise we are currently in. Do you know? Oh, I see I made a mistake here. Well, never mind. It's fine, I guess. Do you know tribbles in Star Trek?
No, I don't.
It's basically a furry thing in the form like this, and it's if it eats, it will multiply like crazy. You have 2, then you have 4, then you have 8, then you have 16, and they are basically a plague. They come to a planet and they will eat everything, and they multiply and multiply, and it looks like this.
Sounds like a parasite. I bet that makes for some interesting episodes. That.
Oh yes.
Just the invasion of the microphones.
So now we also have the game screen. Yeah, it's a totally test stream here, guys. So if you find a mistake, you can keep it, or you can ask us questions about YouTube streaming in general. We are, of course, hardcore professionals here. We know everything or not. Yeah.
Yes, we never make mistakes. Everything works first time. We never had technical issues at the start, did we?
Especially on the vertical stream from this breakfast. This is totally the planned aspect ratio, and everything is planned here. No mistakes. Yeah. But before we go more into the content creation thing, I would say we go into the direction of what's new on your side. It's been nearly a month since we last talked.
Hi, it has. So what's new? So I did a big April Fool's stream the other day. I don't think I mentioned it much because. So I have been working on a fairly big project where it's basically a turn-based roguelike game, but it's played by Twitch chat. And it's a toolkit that lets me build different campaigns for that game. And for this particular stream, myself and a couple of other creators got together and we filmed some really cheesy kind of like awful cutscenes that went in where we green screened ourselves into various like little micro cutscenes. And the whole story was that some woodland spirit had been kidnapped by an evil steampunk professor, and Twitch chat, the Rangers, had to go and rescue that woodland ranger, and we had like really awful like jokes and such. Like one of the cutscenes was the evil professor has tied the woodland spirit to a train track. She's gonna get run over with a train. Oh wait a minute, there's train strikes today. There was like that level of humor the whole way through. So that's kind of been the biggest thing that I've had on in the last month, all gearing up to that, and thankfully it went pretty well.
That sounds really interesting. I love how creative you are in creating new tools on your developing side, but also combining everything with your chat. It's amazing what you do there.
Aye, thank you. I like to get in a lot of interactivity with chat. It's kind of nice to be able to play around and include people and stuff like that. Some of the mini games and
no, fine. Just talk. Just fix something.
Okay. No worries. Yeah, it's nice to be able to bring in more folks to interact with the channel and that, make people feel included. It also helps drive a bit of like a story narrative and stuff like that, which people can have a bit of fun with. It just helps build a little more of a community feel, I think, personally. And having some of these tools just helps drive a little more of the engagement through letting people interact through more than just sending messages in the Twitch chat.
I guess it also helps you personally a lot with motivation.
I absolutely love like making this stuff. I love being able to share it. I'm always trying new stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like there have been some projects that I've ended up dropping before they made it to the stream. One or two that made it to stream but just didn't really quite land or anything. But no, overall, like it definitely helps motivate me knowing that people are going to see it and play with it, and generally they're well receptive. It helps drive me forward to keep pushing and seeing what new stuff I can make.
I wanted to ask you this last month. If you don't want to answer it, it's totally fine. But I was curious, why did you stop using your old channel and switch to this?
No, that's fine. I'm more than happy to answer that. I've had a few people ask that before now. So obviously when we first spoke, I was streaming as IstalriSkolir, and I was mainly doing Dungeon Keeper streams. I was doing that channel from 2020 to January 2022. The main reason... there was kind of a lot of different factors fell into that one. One of which was I was getting a little tired of playing the same game over and over. Another one was my personal life with work, and that at the time just meant that I was really struggling to fit in streaming. I would be getting in from work and literally I'd have 15 minutes to try and eat something before jumping on stream. And just lots of little factors that kind of built up to like me taking a bit of a break for a short while. So I stopped on that channel. And so before I'd stopped, I had found the fairy community and I had joined the fairy community. So after I'd had a few months break and some things changed in my personal life and stuff like that, I wanted to come back to making content. I wanted to come back to streaming. And I decided since I was going to do a change, I was going to become a variety streamer. I was going to put more focus on interactivity and stuff like that than what I had before. Because I was kind of moving everything in a new direction. I decided it would be worth making a new Twitch channel under a new name, try and go with this new style. Things like the more cartoony look with my PNG tuber over the web camera I used to use. It's not that I've got anything against showing my face, but I find for my style of streams with allowing my Twitch chat to throw a net over me, for example, using what the channel redeems, it all just kind of fits together a little bit better in this style, and it felt more appropriate to start a new channel with this as opposed to trying to convert my old channel with it. And the other advantage of it is not a lot of people know this, but I still use my old channel. I use it to develop against. And so some of the tools in that I build, I'm still building in under the name of IstalriSkolir. Whenever I do game jams and stuff like that, I still use that name. It's just I use that more for specifically my development stuff, whereas my current channel and everything is more like what the end product gets to see, what the viewers and that get to see a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Totally. I find it's a good segue to later even, but we all have this second channel to test and to use it in different ways. It's good that you basically had have an old active channel. I just have a test channel, which is that, but you have real data on it. You have subscribers on it. So you can fool around a little bit more in different ways than I could ever.
It doesn't really have subscribers anymore because I don't actively stream on that channel. It's more things like I use the Twitch chat to develop against, and things like that. Having said that, I have considered doing some stuff on it. For example, I mentioned the April Fool's stream. That is a project where, as I said, I can build different campaigns for that. It's not one game. It's more of a game engine that lets me make multiple games. And I've had ideas where it's like, I just leave a 24/7 stream going on that old channel. I'm not on it or anything. It's just a Twitch Players game, and then anyone can log on and play whatever campaigns I load into it. I've not done that yet, simply because of time and a couple other things. Like that game engine still needs a lot of work before I can do something like that. But I've not completely dropped the channel. It's just not the one that's like my most forward facing as it stands. That still may change in the future.
Yeah, I never thought about having a stream which is 24 hours long, which is playing by itself, basically. That's an interesting concept. I immediately think about games like, SimCity, Transport Tycoon, which can really run in the background and players play it for you. It's interesting.
Yeah, I had a few ideas for stuff like that I want to play around with more. I kind of have other things to focus on with sort of my content at the moment, but there are ideas that I'd like to explore at some point, which are like it's less emphasis on the streamer playing themselves and more kind of a co-op thing from Twitch chat. Again, just kind of driving sort of the interactivity, but also the experimentation, as we're kind of saying in like while we're trying to get things set up for the stream. It's fun. It's always good to try something new, learn new tools, see what's out there, see what you can do. And I'm always game for trying new things. That's part of what I enjoy, and it's part of what drives that motivation. And yeah, as I said, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes things fall through or whatever. But at the end of the day, I enjoy getting to put these forward. And there's also a few members of my community in that who also enjoy getting to see some of these anyway, even if they don't work. Like I share some of what I learn, and then others get to benefit from it as well. So it's an interesting concept. I don't know if it's one that's been explored that much, because it's certainly not your typical kind of like Twitch stream. But it is one that I do find quite interesting.
I would say that's definitely one thing which combines us both. We both don't do the typical let's play content on our channels. We don't just stream games. We test new things. We have different kind of development tools and archiving tools. It's for me at least, I think a very positive thing that we are standing out of the crowd a little bit, even though it doesn't reflect in subscribers.
Yeah, it's like I've got nothing against people who just do variety gaming and stuff like that. Like each streamer to their own, but certainly for me, as much as like the gaming is a core part of my channel, it's not the only part. And yeah, you're right. We're both the same in the fact that we both want to try new things. And certainly I pride myself on the fact that I try and put out a lot of new and creative ideas and ways for people to interact with the channel and stuff like that. And it does help set us aside. Like, does it always work out? Does everyone care? Not necessarily, but at the end of the day, the way I see it is, how much personal satisfaction do we get out of it? The folks who do join us for it, how much are they enjoying it? And like, how long can we maintain it? The last one more being from trying to avoid burnout point of view, because I've been doing content of one kind or another for 11 years, and something that I've noticed both in myself and in other people is that burnout can be a real factor. So you do want to be careful that you don't throw yourself at stuff too much, just so that you don't then become, you no longer enjoy what you're doing. But outside of that, yeah, it really comes down to personal satisfaction and those around you, how much they enjoy it. If you've already got those things, then I don't really mind. At least for me personally, I don't really mind the rest of it so much.
That's totally true. Burnout is always a big danger in content creation, especially if it's not your main job. If it's just a side job for you, and you run home from your main work and work again for, let's say, 6 to 8 hours in the evening, in the night, yeah, it's a real danger.
Absolutely. Like you work like a 7.5 hour day. You could be out the house for 9 hours because of your lunch break and traveling to and from. And then, like, even now, my time isn't as strict as what it used to be, but I still, like, if I'm streaming in an evening, I come home from work, I cook food, and then I usually only have about 15-20 minutes before I'm getting ready for the stream. And yeah, you're right. It can be very knackering. And what folks don't always see is the amount of effort that can go in behind the scenes. For both like YouTube and streams, because like I do YouTube content as well. Like, people don't necessarily see the amount of hours that go into even a 10-minute video, the amount of time that you have to spend setting up like your stream overlays or like integration systems, managing your stream bots and stuff like that. And it does take an awful lot of time and effort. And obviously we enjoy it because otherwise we wouldn't do it. But it is absolutely a thing of just being aware that you're not overburdening yourself at any point.
Yeah, and there's also a fine line of don't rip your hair basically out sometimes. Especially if you try new stuff. I think you totally know this problem. You want to achieve 100%, and often you would only need 80 or 90%, and you would be already on top of 90% of other streamers and content creators. But you want to achieve this 100% goal, and it frustrates you because you can't get there. Either you don't have the skills, or the software isn't working correctly. It's strange. Yeah. You have to be careful.
At the end of the day, there's also a large element of luck. Even if you get everything right, at the end of the day, there's a lot of other streamers out there. There's a lot of other creators out there. Sometimes the cards just don't fall in your way. It's kind of sad, but that's unfortunately the nature of what it is. With terms of like the 80-90% thing, one thing that I try to go by for the most part, I can be a bit of a perfectionist at times, but I try not to like let that get in the way. It honestly, it's a nightmare, isn't it? I usually try and go for the 80-20 rule, which is it's a rule that works for pretty much anything in life. But the rule pretty much says that 20% of your effort will cover 80% of the end product. And then that last 20% of the end product is going to take 80% of the effort. It's basically saying the more work you put into something, it's the point of not detrimental. but the more you put in, the less you get out of it. So just it's the whole idea of the rule is to not spend ages focusing on the tiny little details,
which don't
Sometimes it's
often
better-
make any difference. That's the sad part.
Exactly. Like so many times you'll be so focused on these tiny little details that you've noticed, but no one else. Well, I've actually got the perfect example of this. I mentioned with the cutscenes for the April Fool's stream I did. One of the cutscenes had a conveyor belt in it leading to a furnace. And I'd made these scenes in Unity. So it's like a digital scene that had been rendered out. And no one noticed this, but this really annoyed me and Minnie Mouse, who are the other people I was working with on it. But the cutscene, if you looked at the top and bottom of the conveyor belt, both of them were moving in the same direction. Like normally in a conveyor belt, the top of the conveyor belt moves forward and the bottom moves backward. No, in this cutscene, both the top and bottom were moving forward because of a bug in the code. And I didn't have time to go and fix it. And it really drove the two of us mad. And yet no one noticed the entire stream. No one noticed it in the April Cup during the stream itself. And no one's noticed it in the YouTube video. So it really goes to show, like, how you don't need to worry about every little detail. Obviously, you want it to be the best it possibly can, but you've just got to catch yourself a little bit and actually try and sit there and think, hang on, is this issue worth the amount of effort it's going to require to fix it? Or is the time that I would spend on this be better spent working on something else?
Absolutely. On my side, I drive sometimes myself crazy by over-editing the audio of my interviews. I cut out basically all the dead space, and sometimes it doesn't matter if there is a second or a fraction of a second of gap there when nobody is speaking. So why do it? But I still do it often. I hate it.
It's so easy to do, and I don't know if you've had this, but I know that I've found in the past I've been guilty of almost over editing stuff. So like when you kind of stop editing it and you go back and you look at the finished product and you realize you've kind of overdone it and it's actually taken away from the end product a little bit. Like, is that something you've found? Because I know I've been guilty of that.
Absolutely. I often think sometimes the streams or the videos are better if I just have a raw gameplay without any edits. And I always think, no, I need an infographic here, I need a picture here, I need something to explain this and that. And then you push it up. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's trying to find a balance. The editing is an important part of a product. Like it really can make or break it. But it's not the only element of a piece of content. You've got the personality behind or personalities, if you've got multiple people, behind the content itself. You've got the content itself in terms of the game you're playing or the interview, or like the content of what's being spoken about. Like there's a lot of different elements, and you sometimes you all rely on the editing. Great, that will help sell a particular section. Other times you might want to rely on someone's personality a little bit more. Again, we had a cutscene where we at the end of the April Fools, the whole joke was that the ranger had spent all that time going to rescue the spirit, and then we left her there anyway. And so the whole credit scene was basically just Minnie Mouse tied to a chair, and we just let her rant for 5 minutes. And that, honestly, like that, I put in some titles over the top as a little bit of editing, but for the most part, I just let her personality shine through. So
That's amazing.
it's really kind of important to like kind of recognize when and where you should like lean on different elements of the content, I think. Because yeah, you don't want to over edit it. Sometimes it is better to just let something play through and let the content speak for itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which brings me to another topic on the YouTube sides. Since you're also doing content on YouTube, you know that problem definitely. Thumbnails. The art of making it simple, make the thumbnail simple, but also don't make it boring. It's hard. It's really hard.
Honestly, I don't think I've been doing stuff like this for so long, and I don't think I have ever gotten this right. I always either overcomplicate it or it's so damn boring.
Yeah. And there are really good examples out there where content creators basically just use a screenshot and it works also. It's a game. If you have a nice, beautiful screenshot, what else do you need?
Yeah, they're so difficult. Like, I know for me personally, graphics is probably one of my weaker areas. I'm not sure, like, I don't know about you, but it is such a... I also find they're really subjective as well when it comes to things like thumbnails, because some folks, as you say, if you've just got a beautiful screenshot of a game, let that speak for you. And for some people, like me and you most likely, that would likely work. But other people want like some really heavily edited stuff. And I would be curious to see which one does generally draw in a bigger crowd. But I think the main thing it comes down to is so long as it's being representative of the content itself, it shouldn't really matter too much. You do want to try and be eye-catching in that, but I don't know. As I said, that's like one side of YouTube I've never been able to get right, and I'm not sure I will ever be any good at that one.
Luckily, I would say the clickbaitiness is a little bit gone from YouTube. You remember 10 years ago, you had so many clickbait thumbnails. It was so annoying. Now we have it a little bit better. To out myself here a little bit, I use now a little bit of clickbaitiness here in my thumbnails, in the sense of I use a screenshot of a mod, and I will pop in the title of the mod or the game, and then write down play for free, which is of course a little bit clickbaitiness in the sense you can't play the game for free, but you can play this content for free. And this works not that bad for me at the moment. It's just a new style I'm currently experimenting with.
And that's just it. It's trying out new stuff. And at the end of the day, that's still being representative of what you're doing. Like, the mod itself is free. Like, you're showing, look, play this, come try it out. And at the end of the day, you want to get people's attention. So, like, personally, I think the separation between clickbait and just trying to get people's attention is less what are you doing in the thumbnail and more is it representative of the content? Because at the end of the day, you want to try and draw people in. You're certainly right. Like 10 years ago, it was absolutely awful. That was back when YouTube monetization and stuff like that was based off viewer count. I've bashed YouTube a lot of things, and there's still things that I think they need to fix. But one change they did make that was good was changing the monetization from view count to viewer retention. So, like, or watch time, how long people are watching the videos, because that definitely helped cut down on the amount of like clickbaitiness that we're seeing. But yeah, I think a lot of it really comes down to if it's being representative of what you're trying to do. So as you were saying, with like the mod and the game screenshot and that, some people might call that a bit clickbaity, but I would argue you're representing your video in a very fair light. You're showcasing a mod to the game, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the mod itself is usually free. So I would say that's a perfectly fair thumbnail, but I guess that's kind of the point. Like, different people have different ideas for what a thumbnail should look like.
Definitely. It's nice of you also to say that. And yeah, I think that the worst kind of clickbaitiness is definitely if you show something in the thumbnail which isn't there, which was especially around in the 2010 era, where you had a lot of those thumbnails. And that's always frustrating. What also is very frustrating today is that I would say 40%, 30% of thumbnails of game YouTubers are created by Skynet. AI stuff, basically. I hate this at the moment.
Yeah.
I also use AI, but this is really strange.
Yeah, it's... I'll be honest, a lot of I don't watch much gaming YouTube anymore because it feels a little bit blurred into one, just for me personally. But yeah, the idea of using AI art and that in your thumbnails, part of my thing with AI, I've got a lot of thoughts on AI, partly because I'm a creative. Like, we're streamers, we're YouTubers, stuff like that. Partly because I'm a software developer, so I'm more familiar with the technical side than what your average user might be. But for me, it just takes away a lot from your product. Even if you ignore the ethical issues of like it be AI being trained on stolen artwork, or the damage it does to the environment in terms of its power usage and its water usage. Even at its core, a lot of what we do is creative. We are we're experimenting with our own ideas and using it to try and shape a piece of content to tell a story of some kind. And AI just kind of warps that a little bit, because it's no longer your story that you're telling. You've got some random machine that's got an accumulated mess of other people's stories, and it's just kind of pulling pieces out of that to try and spit something out for you. So yeah, it feels cheap. I'm not a fan of this AI era, the way it's all being used and that. I didn't know folks were using it for like thumbnails, but I can't say I'm surprised. Unfortunately, that seems to be the world we're in at the moment.
Yeah, and sadly, for me at least, as a content creator, it goes in the wrong direction. I would prefer AI models which help me really, in the sense of, please cut out all the mistakes I do in an audio take, for example. Cut out all the dead space.
Exactly.
Removing objects in the videos I don't want to show, or background remover. There are AI tools who do that, but they are still very bad.
Absolutely. There's cases where it could be beneficial, like tools to aid you in like creating what you do and stuff like that. As you say, like the background removal, for example, is a perfect example of that. But like, there's a huge difference between having a tool that aids a creator as opposed to a tool that's trying to replace the creator, I think.
Exactly, yeah. Totally. The aiding part would be nice. The replacing part, no. Especially since I mentioned this so often on this channel, I'm so big on archiving information. And if more and more information is created by AI, you don't know what is real, what is fake, what is created by an AI.
Absolutely. It becomes such a dangerous thing. I don't think a lot of people realize this. There was, as an example of how dangerous it can be, there was a lawyer in America who was fired from his job. I think it was in the state of California. I would have to go and check. The reason being is he'd gone on ChatGPT and he was trying to get case studies for a case he was working on. And ChatGPT did its thing of generating data. It made data up, but it presented that data in a way that sounded like it was real. And that lawyer, not being technically knowledgeable enough to understand that AI isn't necessarily using real data, sometimes it's generating data, went to court and presented false case studies as real examples, and it cost him his job. That's just one of many examples of how AI can really be a crazy source for misinformation, not even necessarily through malicious use, just from lack of understanding how it works. And the issue is, even for technical folks who, as I've said before, I'm a software developer. I would not use AI like ChatGPT or anything like that for anything of that nature, because there is no way of knowing if what it gives you is real data that it's drawn from its data banks, or if it's generated data that it's made up on the spot.
Because sadly, I know a few developers who use it, and it's scary.
Yeah, I've had debates with other developers and other engineers. I have, if I put on my, would you be okay if I put on my software engineering hat for a moment instead of my creator hat?
For a moment, yeah, sure.
Okay, so one of the big issues with AI for developers and engineers, any of these technical jobs, is that at the core of our jobs, what is a software engineer? We are a problem solver. You give us a problem, we solve that problem. The code, the languages, the technologies, that's not how we solve a problem. That's how we implement a solution to the problem. We solve the problem on paper using logic. Now, the issue AI brings in is that it brings in so many problems to the table and so little value to the table that it just muddies the water and really limits us in our ability to do our jobs. It looks as though it is helping us, and there are examples of how AI can be useful in software development, but it really muddies the water and can be incredibly dangerous. Down to the fact of, if you put in code, so let's say you're a game developer who's working under an NDA, if you put a section of code into ChatGPT and ask it to find a bug, you've broken your NDA and you don't know where that section of code is going to go. That could be like leaked over the internet now as a result of that. So yeah, like this is what I meant before. But I have issues with AI both as a creator and as an engineer. And while I wouldn't say I'm anti-AI, I am very much against the way AI has been implemented in its form currently.
Yeah, that's really the scary stuff, basically. That's if you have contracts also to fulfill and you have NDAs and you don't have really a say what the AI is doing in the background. Oh, that's scary.
Absolutely. You don't know where the data's going.
Yeah.
If you try and get code samples from it, you don't know that they're going to work. For all you know, if say you ask AI for a bit of code to delete one bit of data from a table, the AI might give you a bit of code that deletes all data from the table. Like that is a distinct possibility. Because of the way this technology is called large language models, and because of the way this technology works, that it could very well give you a bit of code that does that, and suddenly you might end up deleting whole amounts of data that you can't get back. It is a terrifying prospect. So yeah, it's a big subject that's coming up in the sort of engineering world, the use of AI and how it can be implemented. I think it's safe to say, given what I've said so far, where my stance might be on this.
But I'm curious to move back to the content creation. Do you use it in any sense?
So I was looking at it at one point. This was as I was still learning about it and so on. I was going to build, as part of my stream assistant, I was going to integrate a large language model, a kind of like smaller version of ChatGPT that I could run locally. My stream assistant, I call her Lakea Moonlight. She's like another character of mine in my character lore. And I was going to set up an AI so that people could talk to her. So they could have an actual conversation. That was something I was going to set up. And it was through doing the research, looking at what it would require and looking at the ethical issues, that I ultimately decided against that. Which is why that's never been implemented. And I don't use it anywhere else. I don't think I've got any assistive tools or anything. There are places where I would potentially use it as an assistant if I could ensure that I could use it in an ethically sound way. But as that stands, no, I don't currently use it, and I'm not going to use it if I can't be sure that it isn't ethical and isn't going to just replace me as the creator, as we've already discussed.
Of course, one big problem in today's age is we don't know really what an AI is sometimes, because it's a buzzword currently. Everybody uses this fucking word, AI. And often it's just a script or a clever way of programming, and it's called an AI. For example, use it mainly for audio. And yeah, to say something before that, I really hate audio. It annoys me the crap out to remove background noise. I also would love an AI which EQ myself a little bit better, which balances the audio a little bit better. There are some things out there. I try to use them. I'm also now currently using from Elgato the voice focus AI. It's a mix of removing the background, focusing on the compressor a little bit more. It's a mixed bag. I'm not entirely enjoying my audio here, which I'm currently have. But it's an improvement. It's different. And it's a learning curve. This is the side of AI I really like. I really hope they will get more development down here. But yeah, it's also a gray area at some point. I also don't want to kill off all the audio engineers out there. There's a reason why audio is that complex, and we need those guys.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I couldn't really say on the audio side, but if audio is anything like software engineering, I can definitely say for a certain that it's not going to be replacing engineers anytime soon. A bit of an assumption, but I think I can be fairly safe in saying that.
I guess, as with many AIs in today's age, it's the low entrance barrier for all the developers and engineers, I would say. Of course, it can't replace a high-end audio engineer, but stuff like background removal, it's done in an instant some of the times. You just have to use a plugin and it's gone. I, for example, here have a bad room echo, and in this kind of AI, I'm using it in that way at least, I think it's more or less gone in this audio.
Yeah, this is where AI does have its advantages, where it can be a great assistive tool. You were saying earlier about AI being a buzzword, and we don't really know what it is. In like software engineering, we've got a little bit more, but even so, it is still just that. It's a buzzword. When realistically, what AI is great at is it's typically pattern recognition, and then processing of data. So something like removing background noise from audio is something that AI is theoretically incredibly good at, and that is the kind of thing that we should be pushing it more towards. Like, there's still some issues with it, but it's not. It's at least a step in the right direction compared to some of what it's being used for now. I need to correct myself slightly. I was using some AI temporarily for my mic, similar to you, removing room noise, removing reverb for my audio. Because I changed my mic, but the room I'm in is quite echoey. So I needed to get something in to try and help out. And for a short while, it did help. I was able to make some changes to my room so I didn't need it anymore. But that is like a more valid use case for where AI could be useful.
Definitely, especially since we lack the skill of being a pro audio engineer and having the money to afford one to hire.
I think it's less a case of not having the skill, because skill is something that you can like slowly work with and develop, and you can work in conjunction with AI to like build on it over time. Part of the issue with AI is that it's often a little bit generalistic. So like obviously everyone's mic is going to sound slightly different. Every room is going to sound slightly different. All the reverbs are going to be slightly different. So because AI is trying to encompass everything, it wouldn't be able to get it perfect. It's kind of going back to like the 80-20% rule I said earlier. But it means that as you get better with time, you can start working with the AI to grow your skills and just keep tweaking it to slowly improve over time.
It's true that you can learn a lot, but the big thing with audio is you need also a little bit of talent, especially on the hearing side. It's very hard for me personally, for example, to EQ my own audio or general audio, because I can't hear the fucking difference. I could imagine there is a little bit of better EQ levels here, but I'm not sure. It could be just an imagination, especially if you spend half an hour in your audio software and you hear yourself over and over again and you're getting numb basically. There's also a skill component in your hearing, and I'm not sure if you can always learn that.
It is something you can learn, but it is something that comes more naturally to some folks than others. Like I struggle with this as well. It's taken me so long to, even with EQ stuff now, I don't always necessarily hear the difference. And this is why that there's a couple of folks I know that I go and talk to where sometimes I'll try and get feedback. That's partly for myself as well, because I like to grow my own skills, as we were covering earlier. So it is something that you can learn over time, but it's not an easy one. Like, there's a reason why sound engineers and stuff like that, there's a reason why they get paid a lot. There's a reason why their salaries are pretty high up there. They're not doing it just so they can sit around drinking tea all day. Like, it is a serious skill, and they've got years of experience, and this is why. because yeah, it is not an easy thing to pick up.
Yeah, I always compare it to Voodoo, and we have in the chat Neo Spectrum, and he basically has the same problem as we often. He's overcompensating and overthinking his mixes. Here we had this discussion a little bit earlier when we talked about editing our stuff in general, audio, and yeah.
Yeah,
You just wrote that,
weren't we? Yeah, so we're literally having that conversation about over editing stuff. I feel like that's something that anyone can fall foul to, no matter how much experience you've got, how long you've been doing it, anything like that. I think the only real difference is as you get more experience, you get better at learning to avoid it, but you can still so easily fall foul. Like, because it can be so hard to. You're at the end of the day, you're trying to shape the content to how you see it, and sometimes you try and give something little nudges to try and get it perfect, and you nudge it in the wrong area, and half of it comes falling down. That might be a little bit of an over exaggeration, but that is generally what it can be like sometimes.
Absolutely, especially. Yeah, I guess everybody knows that problem. If you have a few annoying things in your work, you often spend too much time with stuff which is a little bit less annoying or you enjoy more. So yeah, there is always a time sink.
Absolutely. That conversation has reminded me a little bit of a running joke. It's said in software development, but it kind of goes for content as well. Why spend minutes doing something when you can spend weeks trying to automate it? And I feel like you could use a very similar thing in content creation of why spend minutes just exporting it and being done with it when you can spend weeks fiddling with it? Like, yeah. It's really the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's at one side I definitely would I guess my camera just froze. Fix it. Oop. And coming back.
Ooh.
Are you hating me? Yes, you hate me.
Your camera may have packed in, bud.
Okay, it's not the camera.
Is it the software?
Where's the software engineer when you need him? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, hang on, folks. We're encountering some totally not technical difficulties. We are full professionals. We know what we're doing. Oh, nothing to see here at all. We're just taking a short improvised break here. Hey, there we go.
Not really. That's the problem. It's a still image. This is one of the reasons why I never got into software developing or in programming in general. I don't understand that if you have a system running, it works perfectly. Why does it stop? Normally I would switch to the break screen, but I need currently also the video feed. The FPS drop is because I'm not in Star Online. I guess in some aspects, definitely AI is taking a shortcut or giving you a shortcut. Ah, I think I know the problem.
Oh, which of the many technologies has decided to pack it up now?
It's the video Skynet, basically. NVIDIA Broadcast is messing it up.
Yay, video broadcast. I think that's what I was using for a short while to help me with some of my sound stuff. It's yeah. It's a fun bit of software, that.
Sure, have a good night. Good sleep. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Really strange. I just switched around the video feed input on broadcast, and it works again. What the hell? That's the fun part in content creation. You don't know why is something broken, and sometimes you also don't know why is it working again. I didn't change much.
I literally didn't do anything. Why is it working?
Yeah.
I think those are the two most common phrases I've got on my channel. Why is it not working? Why is it working?
Moving away again, I would say, from bad Skynet to more traditional editing and working on content. What software basically do I use?
Oh boy. I use a bit of all sorts. Damn. So streams and that, OBS, probably the best streaming bit of software you'll get. It's got its issues, but well, the best. I've got things like VideoTube Mini for the VTuber model. Then I use the Unity game engine to build various digital scenes and stuff like that. Like I have the woodland camp people can interact with. Some of it's more custom software that I've built using like .NET. I use DaVinci Resolve for editing videos and that.
That's a very
good.
Honestly,
yeah, I'm a bit all over the place with the software I use. I use all sorts.
But I think this is totally normal. If you consider you're doing this for how long? 10 years? 15 years?
I uploaded my first video February 2014, so about a little over 11 years now.
I started in the same year. It was just some multiplayer footage from my LAN parties, from my clan, basically, with some not so legal music, which is now totally gone, of course. And yeah, I also used basically in those 11 years so many different tools. Started with Sony Vegas, which I really loved. It was a really simple tool to edit the audio and the video. Yeah. But yeah, DaVinci Resolve currently it's cheap if you have it for free. And even if you pay the full version, I think it's totally fair that you pay it once and you have it a lifetime. You get all the updates, you get a lot of the nice features. It's amazing in that sense. And Sony Vegas is going more in the route of subscription, and still misses a lot of the features.
Yeah, that was my thing for a while. I bought a different video editor that I used for years. It was Video Studio by Coral, and that one wasn't great. It worked for a while, but it wasn't great. Even the main annoyance I had with it, outside of it being unstable, was that even when you bought it, you still got adverts. So when you close the video editor, after you've finished whatever project you're on, you'll get an advert for the next version of Video Studio. And it's like, seriously? We've got adverts in a product that I've paid for? So, yeah, that kind of turned me off that one. DaVinci, as you say, though, the fact that it's like a single fee instead of a subscription. I'm still using the free version, but I fully intend to get the full paid version at some point, if nothing else, to support that project, because I really hope that they keep it as like a single one-off payment and keep it as an amazingly solid video editor.
This is a very strong case for DaVinci Resolve, but which really sold me was, sadly, to go a little bit back to the previous topic, the audio AI, the noise cancellation, the balancing. The balancing isn't that great, but the noise cancellation, and now since version 19, you can also rebalance basically the audio. In a music sense, you don't like the drums, take out the drums. You don't like the bass heavy drums, you can also reduce it a little bit. You can play around so much. The use case I thought it would be great, sadly didn't work. I thought I could cut out the game audio or the music better from games which use very heavy licensed stuff. But yeah, sadly that didn't work that great. But the noise cancelling is great. The workflow is now enjoyable, but I hated it when I moved from my previous program from Sony Vegas to DaVinci. It was a pain.
Yeah, I can get that.
The first 2 months I screamed so much at my computer because it was so annoying to get to use this new layout, this new stuff. And at some point it's really stupid. Some points you think, why do they do it that way?
Yeah, but they really didn't make it easy to get started with it. I remember booting it up for the first time and thinking, "What the holy fuck is this?" Like it's.
And you have to learn. You have to learn so many workarounds to get stuff done, which isn't necessary, but they still won't fix it.
See, for me, it's more some of like the user interface. Like, as much as I'm loving using it, it's stupid things like you go on the timeline editor and you want to like scroll along the timeline. Okay, you can do that, shift and mouse scroll, but you can't zoom using the mouse and keyboard. You can only zoom using the scroller at the top. It's like, why can't I zoom? I don't want to have to like move my mouse over there. I realize this sounds very like minor to folks who might not use video
that's
editors,
exactly what annoyed me moving from Vegas, especially in Vegas. You could click anywhere at the timeline and you would jump there. Here you have to click directly at the timeline at the right time stamp basically to jump there. And it's annoying. It costs so much time to move your mouse exactly to the location you want to and then hit it. And back then, just anywhere and you skip to that, you jump to that point.
Like some of its ease of use it could be better. I definitely think there's things they could improve on for it. Like it's not going to stop me using it. Like I said, I still think it's the best option out there, especially as you said, for free. Like you can't complain. But yeah, there's certainly a few little things that I just wish they would fix up just to make it a little bit easier to get used to. Like, because at the moment it is just little things like trying to interact with it. Some of that like human computer interaction is a little bit frustrating and just slows you down a little bit.
Absolutely. A few years I had also the problem that I couldn't render the video at full speed. So I set the render speed to 100 FPS and it worked without a problem. But at full speed, it always produced garbage.
Yeah, I've not had that thankfully yet, but that does sound like an infuriating issue.
Moving quickly away from DaVinci itself, what audio and video settings do you use for your YouTube videos and then later on your stream?
So for my YouTube videos, I usually go for 1080p 60 FPS, though honestly, because of the style of most of my videos, the quality and frame rate doesn't really matter that much. Ignoring the April Fool stuff, most of the YouTube stuff I'm doing at the moment is D&D stories, and it's using like still sketches that I get an artist to draw while people are like voicing the characters. It's very much a storybook kind of format. So I normally go with the higher qualities and that just because I can. Doesn't really make that much difference to the end video itself though. For streams, I usually go for about 720p 60 FPS at 5000 kilobit bit rate. I would love to be able to increase the quality, but unfortunately Twitch caps you at 6000 kilobits unless you're a partner. So I tend to go with that. I do usually stick with NVENC encoding though, just to put the strain on my GPU, as I find it helps keep it run a little bit smoother than when I get my CPU to do the encoding.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I haven't used a CPU encoding for years. Years. It's unbelievable how much I'm depending now on NVIDIA.
Yeah, you start on CPU, but then you try the NVENC encoder, and then you don't really want to go back, do you?
No, you don't.
Like, I'm not a fan of how NVIDIA work, but like at the end of the day, right now, at least for streamers and that, the NVENC encoder is kind of the best out there.
Yeah.
AMD and even Intel do seem to be slowly catching up, but for now, if you want to try and get the most optimized and cleanest looking video for your stream, NVIDIA cards are the way to go, which I hate to say given how much they've price hiked the cards.
That is what they recently are doing. The 50 series is a mess. Also, I think they are, I will not say corrupt, but they are really, really... Yeah, they're just bad for the gaming community and content creator community.
They've made it pretty clear that they don't really care about gamers or content creators anymore. I think it's fair to say that.
And if you consider it's the first time I'm so happy that I invested in the previous product and not in the latest one, because the latest one is maybe 10% better and it's 30% more expensive or 40%. So no, thanks.
Yeah, it like the price to performance difference is just not worth it, like at all. And some of its improvements are, in some things, it's not even any better. It's the same as the old one. So I'm still rocking a 30 series card, a 3070. I would love to maybe upgrade at some point, but right now, I'm going to wait and see what the future holds, I think. See what the next few years bring in terms of graphics cards.
I had the same card, and the main reason was for me to switch to the 4070 Ti Super. I hate the name. It's too long.
Yeah.
But the main reason was this was the entry card to have 2 NVENC encoders on it. So I can stream without any problem to YouTube, YouTube Short, and Twitch. And record the whole thing.
This is something that does annoy me with NVIDIA. Why are they capping us to one NVENC encoder on most cards, and then, as you say, on that one to 2 NVENC encoders. You look, even some of the Intel cards, some of their cheap cards don't have this limitation. So why are Nvidia like randomly putting this? I don't know. It feels rather arbitrary, this limitation. Maybe that's just me, but I'm just not sure there's a valid reason for it.
And another big point for me was I want the AV1 encoder.
Yes.
I currently have my brain lag DaVinci Resolve open here on the screen. I still use for videos the H.265 encoder, but I soon will also move here to AV1. In the recording and streaming aspect, I already switched to AV1. So this stream and the recording of the stream is in AV1. It's so much I save on disk space. It's unbelievable how much disk space I can save here. And to talk quickly about my encoder settings for the videos. Previously, I had set up the bitrate and I really min-maxed the crap out of it. But as we've spoken before, it's not necessary most of the time. It's just more efficiently if you let the software do it. I just have it on best, main profile, H.264, which I will soon switch to AV1. I have also audio settings. I use AAC. For a time, I used a lossless format, but at one point I thought, what's the point having audio in lossless? 320 kilobits is more than enough for audio. And yeah, maximum speed, of course.
I'm still rocking. I'm going to be stuck with the H.264 encoder for a while because I haven't got support for AVI.
It's the sad part. If you didn't invest in the Forte series when it was cheap, now it's crazy expensive to invest in any card currently.
Yeah, no. Maybe I should have, but at the end of the day, that was a balancing act with other things. Like I only got discounts in the last year. So.
It's a money decision, sadly.
Yeah, it is. I will say that not have it take up so much space. So, like, I'm curious then, do you store all your previous content at all? Because I still have, like, on my storage server, I still have, like, the videos I uploaded to YouTube 11 years ago. Like, I'm a bit of a content hoarder.
It's funny that you say that. I have this on my list for a question for you. So we will go to that later. But
I'm jumping ahead here.
Exactly. But before we go there, I also want to mention, even though now I record in 4040p, for everyone out there, you should push your image quality to 4040p, even though you have a 1080p image as your native resolution. The reason behind that, YouTube will give you a better quality picture if you have it above 1080p resolution. You can check out what codec YouTube is using for your videos by pressing right mouse button on your videos and switch to Stats for Nerd. If there is AVC, you have the sadly crappy codec, which is good for dark images or still images, not a lot of moving basically. If you have a lot of moving, the VP9 codec is much more better. So pushing up your resolution helps a big way here.
I'm going to have to take a look at that. That's a useful tip, that one.
Previously, all you had to do was push up the frames to 60 to get that. But they changed that. You need 60 FPS sometimes, and sometimes even the higher resolution. But most of the time, the higher resolution is more than enough to unlock this. I started recording in 720p, then moved to 1080p. And I quickly learned this trick. to either have higher frames or higher resolution to unlock this, and it helped so much. Especially if you can read this, I can make it a little bit bigger, then you can read it. The text, it will often be blurry on the AVC codec, and VP9 gives you a very good quality codec basically to text and movement in general. Same goes, of course, for streaming. If you have 1080p streaming on YouTube, it will be the crappy codec, and if you push it, you will get the better. I think you can see also.
Does YouTube allow you to stream at higher bit rates then?
Yeah, I currently, for Twitch, I basically stream in the recommended settings. It's auto-enabled. I haven't enabled multiple tracks, but in general, I have set it here. And this was my previous setting for YouTube. So 10 Mbit in AV1. This is my recording setting. I record in hybrid MP4. The difference to normal MP4 is here that if your PC is crashing, the video file is not corrupted. The normal MP5 is corrupted, and bad luck. Like I said, AV1.
That is the downside of MP4s. If you have a stability issues and that, you can just lose the whole video file. Because I think OBS defaults to MKV, does it not?
Exactly.
I can't remember, it's been a while.
And that's a really sad history part in content creation. I think it's only 5 years or 6 years ago, we moved finally in the MKV era of video editing. Most of the time, the video editors only know MP4. DaVinci Resolve finally knows it.
I remember having this issue way back in the day where I very first started downloading OBS, trying to record stuff, and then just not being able to import it into my editor. And me not knowing anything at the time, couldn't understand why it wasn't working, not knowing that it was the encoder. It can be at the time it could be a real blocker for new folks coming in, so it's good now that it not just for experienced folks but for folks trying to get into content for the first time, not recording something, realizing after the fact that it's the wrong encoder, and then they've got to go through all the hassle of trying to learn how to re-encode it.
In general, video editing, streaming and everything got a lot easier over the years.
Yeah, absolutely has.
My camera again was messing around, or NVIDIA was messing around, not the camera. The camera is working.
No,
as encoder settings, I use constant quality something. I don't know what the P is standing for, but it's basically a constant quality check. So I don't have a bitrate setting. It's a quality setting, and that way it's more or less always good. Because to explain that also a little bit for viewers who don't know that, if you record something like an RTS, where you only, especially here, you have a dark RTS, it's in space, you don't need a lot of bitrate because it's dark and not a lot of moving. If you record a shooter where you have a lot of movement, or crash is really terrible for encoding, you need more bitrate. So you would always need to adapt that depending on what game you're playing. So I don't want to do that. I just set it to a constant quality setting, in my case 16, and it works.
It's these little details that really show experience over time, understanding how these technologies work and that. You don't necessarily need to be an expert, but just understanding the little things like how higher bit rates can help with, as you say, more movement in your games and such, but result in higher video files. Little things like that make a massive difference alone.
Definitely. And There's so many things it's learning by doing.
Yeah.
And discovering that you need a lot of hard disk space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do not underestimate how much storage space you are going to need.
This is a little bit of a how to say it. It's a waste of mine to record in 30-20 kilobits per second the audio, because we are currently having this conversation over Discord, and Discord has a default 96 kilobits, so it's a waste. But I have it. I enjoy to have it on the higher settings than on the lower settings, because everything I record on high is there or not. But if I record it on low, it's never there. It's just on low.
It's always better to have your raw footage at like the max, because it's easier to turn things down than to try and scale things up. Now, things have got interesting, kind of dipping back to some of the other topics where AI upscalers have gotten better, but even so, like typically, it's just better to have the best quality of video and audio at the source, and then downscale it in editing. That will pretty much always give you a better image and output than trying to upscale during the post process, like during the editing process.
A friend of mine who is working on the Wing Commander Remastered project, he's for the video upscaling and in general all the video aspects and coding aspects he's doing. And he always phrased it like that: if you have garbage, you will get garbage out. So garbage in, garbage out. It's you can't do anything with AI. It's not a magically enhancement of stuff which isn't there on the video. So if you have a low quality video, you will get a low quality output, even though it says 4040p at the end. Resolution doesn't mean anything, sadly. That's one thing you really have to learn in content creation, or in general. If you look at videos, it doesn't matter how many pixels it has. It's about the bit rate. Don't care about it 720p if it has a high enough bit rate.
It's a very high level number. When people talk about resolution and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, that's great, but that will only work if everything else is feeding into it, like the bit rate and such, as you say. Because otherwise, if you try and have a high resolution video, as you say, 1440p or even 4K video at a bit rate it's too low, then all that's going to happen is you end up with really bad artifacting with your video, as it's trying to over compress your video, and that will make it look far worse than if you say render in like 1080p at the same bit rate. So it really is a balancing act between these things.
Then one other thing I would like to show is my vertical settings. Since I'm also streaming to YouTube Short, I have a vertical resolution here. Since it's only in 1080p, I stream only in 8 megabits. 8. Yep, brain lag. 8,000 kilobits, let's call it that way, in AV1. And the funny thing is how YouTube is also giving you this VP9 codec is they look at your vertical, not on they don't look at the first resolution part, they look at the second resolution part. That's the horizontal in English, I guess. Brain lag. Which is the second part of the resolution? Yeah, hardcore noob here.
This is something I want to look into at some point, like the dual casting streaming, because it would be nice to be able to stream to Twitch and YouTube. It's one of the things on my to-do list. I would certainly say to anyone starting out, just stick with one platform for now. It doesn't really matter which one. But as you like grow and you get like learn more about like streaming and such, I think dual casting is a good way of opening yourself to like new audiences and such.
That's definitely true. Don't overcomplicate it at the beginning. But what I wanted to say here is also YouTube is looking at the second part of the resolution. So if you over, if you're over 140p, you get the VP9 codec. So this is the part which is important for everybody who is thinking about vertical streaming and normal landscape streaming, basically. If you have a higher resolution than, let's say, 1080p, you are more than enough on every aspect. Another thing I have here, give me a second, where is it? I want to show you also the settings and quality I have for the YouTube stream. Yeah, here. No. This is basically the main thing, and I should also have a YouTube thing. No, that's shorts. Range. Am I really currently only using that? Huh? Okay, I guess I have to recheck my YouTube settings. I thought I have a better setting. Interesting. Would explain a lot. Yeah, you see, even after doing this for 11 years, streaming I'm doing since 2017, so also quite a few years.
It's still so easy to like miss little things or like forget little details. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Like that is part of the fun, but like it is a lot to take in sometimes.
Absolutely.
There's a lot that goes into the behind the scenes, I think, is the general gist of it.
Just a second again. I really hate this program slowly. Or maybe it's just a reason to update again the NVIDIA broadcast because it's telling me, hey, there's a new software update, use it. Then, yeah, this is everything basically for my encoder settings. You touched something before, archiving. I also have all my videos from the past. I'm maybe also doing it a little bit over the top here. For interviews, I also have the raw audio files. So I will extract only the audio portion of my videos to have the raw audio. I would also have only the edited audio without any effects, any AI, just the raw audio, edited audio. And then, of course, the video version of the interview, the edited one, not the raw, because that I don't need.
See, I keep everything. I keep the raw, the project files, any like add-ins. As I kind of hinted before, I'm a bit of a data hoarder. I keep all of it. So it's like I still have the raw footage from filming from April Fools, and that alone is over 51 gigs of video footage.
That you can do. That you can do if you record below 1080p. I'm recording in 4040p and 60 FPS. In some games,
we were filming in 4K.
Okay, but also depending on the game. I just wanted to say in the game Left 4 Dead, this was the craziest example I ever experienced. I recorded 1 hour gameplay and I had, I think, 400 gigabytes of hard disk space used for that video. It was unbelievable.
That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, that was in H265. In AV1, it goes a little bit down, but it's still. I don't know what it is with this game, because in all other shooters, except of DayZ, Armor, I don't experience that. If you play Battlefield, if I play Counter-Strike, I would say 1 hour is around 50 gigabytes, 60 gigabytes sometimes. But in that area, and 400 gigabytes, I can't archive. It's too much.
That is huge. I don't think my stream files are usually a lot smaller, but I'm also doing it at a much like lower bit rate and frame rate than you. So it's like, how big are my files typically? I usually go for about 3 hours of streaming, and it comes out. But I'm also recording in MPEG. Oh wait, now I think you were doing MPEG-4 as well. Because my files come out at like 10 to 12 gig usually, 10 to 15 gig a stream.
Yeah, I have Red Faction, a 5-hour long stream in 4040p, 60 FPS, and you maybe saw it, it's 40 gigabytes. It's unbelievable, the AV1 codec. Other comparison, here we have Command & Conquer. It's also around 6 hours and 25 gigabytes.
I think what's also interesting though, that's something to note. You're only capturing the game itself there, whereas I'm looking at like my stream files with like all my overlays and everything on top. So it's interesting to see how much of a difference that can make as an impact to it.
That's true. I want to experience that or test that a little bit more in the future. I want to install a plugin, basically, especially since this is the first time I'm using a camera on this channel. I want to install a plugin which records all the different sources. So, for example, your video source, my video source, and the game in the highest resolution and bitrate I can basically save. So I can really customize. I don't have.
How do you store all of this then? Because that's a lot of data, and I'm actually. I tell me if I'm jumping ahead again, but I'm looking at building a new storage server because my current solution is slowly getting full.
Well, I have on my PC. I can show you that, of course. I have I have more terabytes on my PC for games than for storage of the video files. I only have a 4 terabyte storage device, basically, and others are just gaming or software related. Then I have a 12 terabyte hard disk, an external drive, and not primarily for video editing, but also for family storage, pictures, videos, and other stuff. I have a 16 terabyte NAS in RAID. I think it's a Synology RAID, but it would be RAID 5 basically.
That's fair, because you've got a lot more space than me then currently, because right now I'm using a little Raspberry Pi. It's got Open Media Vault, and it's got 2 6 terabyte hard drives plugged into it, but one of them is pretty much just a backup. So I've only really got about 6 terabytes of storage. It's almost full. So I'm looking at building a custom storage server that I was going to use either RAID 1 or RAID 2 in. I'm still kind of playing around with the configurator and trying to see if I can bring the cost down. The thing is, the actual cost to build a server itself isn't too bad, depending on what you're looking for. But if you want nice, big, sturdy, reliable hard drives, they can get a little bit more pricey. So
yeah, sadly, yes. Sadly, yes. It's especially the hard disk space are on such a high level currently.
They really are.
I
I
want
think
to
one of
invest
the
in 420 terabyte hard disks. So basically, space would never have been a problem. And yeah, the price is climbing and climbing and climbing. I
yeah.
bought 20 terabyte hard disk for testing purposes, so I can say, hey, it's not that loud. It can be in my NAS below my computer tower, not a problem. It was great. I bought it for roughly 360 euros. I said, yes, great, I will buy the other ones. Look up at the same shop where I bought it. What? It's 80 euros more? What the hell?
Yeah.
And I of course, I could afford it, but I don't want to afford it if it's now over 100 euros more than I original paid. Especially if
Yeah,
I want
especially
three
when you
more.
need multiple drives. So when you think it's gone up by 80 quid, you want multiple drives. If you want like 3 of them, suddenly it's another 240 quid for 3
Exactly.
extra drives.
Exactly.
Like the drives I was looking at was like some of the Seagate Iron Wolf ones. I was looking at
Exactly,
the
that
12
was the one.
terabyte ones. Yeah, but even at 12 terabytes, they're still like 200 quid each.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I want to try and get 3 of them if I can, and going RAID 1 is my current thinking. It would give me 24 terabytes of space with 1 redundancy. But that's still 600 quid, 600 quid in hard drives. The server itself that I'm looking at build is only about 500 quid. Most of the cost is in the storage itself. It's kind of nuts. Like, if you just want to build like a normal computer for like everyday use, an SSD or a hard drive for general data, yeah, pretty cheap. But if you want to like start storing, pardon me,
It's expensive.
significant amounts of data, it gets expensive.
Especially, we are so used that the prices are dropping for CPU, for SSDs, for monitors, whatever. If it's out there for more than, let's say, 3 or 4 months, it will drop in price. But the big hard disks and, of course, the graphic cards, they only go up for some reason.
Yeah, like I don't know what it is with the hard drives, why they only go up. Graphics cards ends up with things like scalpers and all sorts
That
on
I
them.
also
But
can totally understand, but yeah, why do the 20 terabyte hard disks now cost more than half a year ago? I don't get it. Also, the Iron Wolf 20 terabyte hard disk I wanted to buy is out already for over 2 years. Why is it still around 500 euros now? What is this crap? Especially we are now getting 26 very quickly 30 terabyte hard disks. They have to go down. I need them. I want them.
yeah, it is absolutely nuts. So I'm just looking at a few places now. Even if you want an 8 terabyte one, which is on the smaller side, you're still looking at 170 odd quid. The 12 terabytes that I was looking at have now gone up to 225 quid. So that's 25 quid more than when I last checked. Like, if I had to guess, it'll be world events right now that are just like causing issues with the markets. But it's not fun. It definitely makes life more challenging.
We will go into that problem also a little bit later, but one thing I really fear currently is if something is breaking. Because it's, yeah, like as we said, the prices go up. If my, for example, graphic card is now dying on me, I will have to pay at least 200 euros more than I originally paid for to get the same performance. It's annoying.
It's definitely a worry. Like, a lot of the equipment is always expensive. And I'm trying to make my PC last. It's not desperate, but it could do with some upgrades in terms of like some of its storage in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like certainly the one bit I would be very concerned about would be the graphics card. Like I have a spare graphics card. It's an old 1070.
At the same.
It would, yeah, like it would work. I'd be able to do things, but it's not as powerful as a 3070. And if I was to look again a new card, as you say, now is not a fun time to be trying to get into PC gaming. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It is not a fun time.
Absolutely. Or, maybe I'm too scared to move to the to markets like eBay. Maybe it would be totally fine to buy a old graphic card, just fixing it a little bit up, and maybe it would be the same quality. But always, I prefer to have a new hardware in the sense of I'm using it daily on a very extensive workload. So I think it's better to have something which is proven to work.
Yeah. I have bought hardware secondhand. I will say you can get some incredible good deals. You can also be bitten though, so you do want to be careful. See what you can like. Be a little more wary of what you're buying. There's definitely more security in buying new stuff. If you're going to buy secondhand, which I would say is entirely a good idea sometimes, you've just got to be aware that it can be very easily affected by the state of the market right now. And also, like, unfortunately, there are people who will take advantage of you, i.e. scalpers and stuff like that. So if you're worried about it, definitely stick with buying things new. But if you're willing to like put in a little bit of legwork, buying secondhand can save you a few quid sometimes.
To be honest, there is also the differentiation between the parts. For example, I would blindly more or less buy a new or a used CPU because they don't damage that hard in usage. GPUs, especially if you use them for farming, bitcoins, for example, no, I wouldn't do that. Or hard disk. I wouldn't use a used hard disk because I don't know how many hours it was used.
That is something that I've said for a while now, that I'm always wary of buying secondhand. I don't like to buy storage secondhand. I've sold some CPU. I've sold PC parts before. I've never sold storage. That is something that I have always, to be blunt, I smash it and I put it in the bin because I've seen how good data recovery is, and that's amazing. But that's also scary that you can sell a like hard drive to someone, and the amount of data they could potentially get back, even if you formatted it. So that I've never sold that. I wouldn't, as you, I'd be wary trusting secondhand drives. GPUs are, again, that's what I was saying about people taking advantage. As you said, you don't want one that's been used for Bitcoin mining for the last 4 years because it likely doesn't have much life left in it. But like if you can find a good deal, or looking at other components, as you say, CPUs are a brilliant one. You can get some incredible deals out there.
Also, we are currently sadly living in an era where you need more VRAM. I also used a long time 8 gigabytes of VRAM in the 1070, in the 3070. It was always fine. But now I really like my 16 gigabytes of VRAM, especially if I'm doing multiple things at one player. More modern games, you sadly need them. I heard the new Indiana Jones game is crazy in the VRAM segment.
Yeah.
really needed, sadly.
Again, Nvidia, they should have been putting in more VRAM on some of the newer cards.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real good reason for them to have not put in more VRAM sooner. As you said, 8 gigs has been plenty for a while, but we are now seeing titles where it is not enough. We're seeing workloads where you need more, and they just did not add it for ages. It's taken so long to add more and more. And even now in the 50 series, I think the 60 card still only has 8 gigs. And it's like, is that really enough at this day and age?
And we are both two more or less retro gamers. We don't play the latest games. We are game hoppers, I also would say both. So we experience many different things. But if you want the latest games on your PC, on your streams, you really need to invest a lot.
Yeah, as you said, the latest Indiana Jones, ray tracing is required now. And the amount of VRAM it needs, I don't entirely blame game developers for trying to use more technologies, but at the same time, they are kind of limiting their audiences a little bit, because it's like, well,
exactly. Yeah.
Now only people who have these mega baller PCs can play your games. Not everyone can afford a fucking 4090 in their PC. Like, it's you're really narrowing down your audience at that point. And yeah, as you say, for us, we play a lot of older games. I've been playing some newer titles than what I was doing on my old channel, but even so, things like Mass Effect, late 2000s. I've gone back and done the BioShock games because I never played those. Like, again, late 2000s. They might not be like your 90s retro, but we're still talking about like your older games that will run on most PCs nowadays. You don't need the highest tier equipment compared to some of the newer games where, frankly, even without the streaming and everything like that, just trying to run the game itself can be a challenge.
And we have to say also here, when we started this journey, or in general, when we started gaming, I would even say, everything I bought, and since I heard your last few graphics generations you have on your PC side, they were all the time mid-range components. The 3070, the 1070, even the 4070 or 5070, they are mid-range cards. And they are so expensive that you can't even sometimes earn that, spend that much money basically on the side.
Yeah. The other thing being is that also the lack of budget side stuff now. Like, what happened to the 50 series card? When I first started on my old Twitch channel, I was running on a laptop that had a 1050 in it with 4 gigs of RAM, and that worked for streaming older games. But you're sure as hell not playing anything newer on it nowadays. It'll run Minecraft. Like, well, that's about it. And as you said, like, it's no good because they don't even make the 50 series anymore. Like, when was the last time we got a 50 series card?
On laptops, I have a 4050. But there they have still, I would say there is also a good use case for the 50 series on laptops because they are quite powerful. They give you a lot of performance for not a lot of temperature production. I hate when I have a toaster on my lap and not a gaming device.
Hot enough to actually burn your lap. It's like, this is ridiculous.
I would never go in today's age above the 60 series for a laptop. So a 70, 80 or 90 card in a laptop, no. I don't want to burn off my nuts. Thank you.
Yeah, it's too much. Also, like the weight of the laptop by that point, once you've got like a 80 series card in it, because of the size of the cooler they're trying to put in it, and then how short the battery life and that is. Like
Exactly. Battery
it's
life
it
also.
is yeah. It's not that I'm saying that gaming should be, or high tier gaming should be locked to desktops only. Just that at a certain point, the disadvantages of having a high powered gaming laptop really do start to outweigh the advantages. And for me personally, I would be quite happy with kind of like a low to mid tier thing that can play games on low settings relatively well, than try and get a high end one. It's going to weigh an absolute metric shit ton and only last for half an hour before it runs out of battery.
You mentioned that you started on a laptop, the streaming, and also the content creation side. Is this correct?
For streaming on my last channel, I started on a laptop. I've had a lot of computers over the years. When I did my first few YouTube videos, I did have a desktop. It was an awful desktop. I don't think it had a graphics card in. I think it was running on integrated graphics. And it had a whole 3 gig of RAM, which explained why the Minecraft videos were 4 FPS. But yeah, when I started on my old Twitch channel, I was running on I'd sold my desktop. I got a laptop. This was because I was still at university at the time, and I needed something that I could take on the go. And the laptop I had, like I said, had a 1050 in it. And at the time, while that was a bit on the budget end, it ran the games I wanted to play. I was playing a lot of retro stuff back then with some newer titles, but I was able to run them well enough. And it could still stream, at least the game I was streaming at the time. So it was only a small thing, and it did start to struggle later on because one of the RAM sticks died and the chassis had actually been dropped by someone else. So the CPU cooler didn't make full contact with the CPU, so it could overheat quite easily. It had issues, that laptop, which is why it's been permanently retired now.
I see. Yeah, that's quite a journey you have. I was always on the mid-tier level, so I could enjoyable create my stuff, but of course I always hit boundaries. There's always, even if you invest the best hardware out there, you will always have boundaries. And I would say let's talk also a little bit about that problem, that subject, problems. What kind of real problems did you discover during your journey, except of performance problems?
Oh boy, that's quite a long conversation. There's so many like challenges in that you could talk about, down to networking, changes in like platform rules, like changes in like how the community feel about certain games and technologies and that. You have to give me a minute on that one. What kind of problems? I think
no problem.
The first one that comes to mind, I like this could be a long list if I was to sit and think about it, but the first one that comes to mind would be trying to keep up with platform changes and getting used to the idea that unfortunately you don't really own your Twitch channel or your YouTube channel, which is a very scary thought for a lot of people, especially for those who work on them full time. You've got to realize that you've signed up to a service, be it Twitch or YouTube. You have agreed to their terms of service, and they are letting you use their platform. If they decide to change the rules, whether you like it or not, it's their platform to change the rules. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I agree with all changes, and there are things that I've argued against in the past. But unfortunately, it's not your decision, and I think that can be a real challenge sometimes for when certain things come in. I'm trying to think of like certain changes that have been made. Twitch, for example, when they make changes to the ads manager. Obviously, for a
yes.
lot of us streamers, ads end up getting played, and we get some saying it, but very little. At the end of the day, you're going to see ads on streamers' channels. The only way to not see ads is to subscribe. And that's Twitch's decision. We don't get a say in that. We can maybe make a couple of tweaks to the ad manager in our settings, but unfortunately, Twitch has decided that adverts are a thing, and if you don't want adverts, you have to subscribe. And there's nothing that us as streamers can do to change it. So I think I would say that's certainly what the biggest challenge is, trying to deal with these platforms and keep up with them in order to keep making content.
Yeah, especially, I'm not sure if you experienced that, but many experience that problem. At the beginning, you don't, you know it's not okay, but you don't care that much. You do push out a lot of copyright saved music. And I have frozen again. NVIDIA, you're really annoying. I basically had to remove a few of my old videos because I thought it's a little bit too dangerous to have them on. Sorry, are you still here? Oh, we lose him. Maybe he's on a break. You can do it, NVIDIA. Sorry.
Oh.
So we are back.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah, the copyrighted music is sadly a problem often in the beginning. You don't really care or you ignore it basically. And yeah, at some point you can meet, you can have a problem because of that. So don't do it is the best advice, or reduce it as much as possible.
It is a case of trying to keep up with like all the rules, all the regulations, trying to learn about copyright and stuff like that. There are absolutely resources out there, things like with music, where you can get copyright-free music that you're welcome to use in streams and YouTube videos. You can get services that will help provide you with various visual assets and stuff like that. But it is you have to be prepared to put in the work. You've got to put in the effort, and it can be a challenge to try and find what you want in the way that you want it. And this is why a lot of VTubers and that end up going about. They often start quite small with like a random collection of assets that they've been able to get for free. And then over time, as they put more money into it, start getting more custom artwork drawn, more custom music done, and stuff like that. But then you kind of, at that point, you're trading doing the work yourself, doing the work of hunting around, spending time looking for the assets, and exchanging it for paying someone money to be able to make them for you. Like one way or another, you have to invest something, be it time, money, or effort, in order to be able to keep making the content of one way or another.
That's also a big problem in content creation, I would say. The time you have to spend to look for certain music, pictures, basically the right stuff you can also afford or is free. It's, yeah, Sometimes annoying.
Yeah, it is. It's why something that, like, for now, for some of my YouTube videos and that, I've paid to get a subscription to Upbeat, which I'll be honest has worked quite well for me. £6 a month, and I can get whatever music and sound effects I need for my videos. It doesn't have everything on there, doesn't always have everything I want, but it's got enough that it's worth that £6 a month for me to get what I need. But that's like specifically my content. Like, it also comes down to what kind of content are you doing and what are you looking for. So what works for me might not work for someone else. So it might not work out for another content creator. Or it might be that they decide that they wouldn't get £6 of use out of it. So this is part of the thing where it also comes down to like creators trying to give advice to each other on where to source things. It's not that it's bad advice or it doesn't work, just that it can be something to consider, as everyone's got different styles and everyone's looking for different things. So what one solution might work for one creator won't necessarily work for another.
I'm curious, how is the experience on Upbeat in the sense of finding stuff? Is it very easy? Do you all the time find the necessary stuff you want, or is it also hard? I'm on Epidemic, for example, Epidemic Sound, and they have a good feature for finding new stuff or similar stuff, but sometimes I look for hours.
Yeah, I would say it's the same kind of thing.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I'm able to find like something that I want without too much effort. Like, depending on what it is, I'll like be looking for different things. It's like sound effects for D&D videos. I might be looking for like a sword bashing sound.
Yeah, the sound effect is something again more complex.
Yeah. But when you're looking for something that's quite specific or whatever, yeah, then I could be at it for a while and they might not even have it. Like I said, it's not an endless supply. They've only got so much stuff in there. And to be honest, I'm not sure you'll find any one service that will necessarily have everything you want in there.
That's also not the real... yeah, it's not necessary for me, but what I really find frustrating and sad in today's age is that Epidemic Sound, and I hear also your service, doesn't offer a community, basically. They don't have a Discord, they don't have a Reddit where people basically say, hey, I used the last 5 videos, this and this and this song, you can also do it, or share information, what they just found, an amazing new song, amazing new effect, something.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, that would be very cool, and also a great way of networking in that as well.
Exactly, like, I don't know why this isn't happening. It would be even a bonus for those companies, because if Epidemic has a community who is working together, they will also stay together. So I don't understand why nobody is doing it.
It would certainly help drive engagement in that, wouldn't it? I don't know. That does sound like a bit of a missed opportunity, to be honest. But it seems to be one of those things.
Also,
yeah,
on the
I haven't
same
really
note,
got an answer. It would be good to see, I think, is all that there is to say on that.
Also, on the same topic, I find it not okay even. It's not only frustrating, but not okay that you don't have to write down on YouTube what content you are using. Often I find, for example, that they are using Epidemic Sound for the background music, but I can never figure out what song they use. And this is frustrating. I think it should be a kind of a requirement that you have to write down at some level on YouTube what you're using.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know what the thing is on other ones, but on Upbeat, what they say is if you're using their free, you've got to credit people in descriptions and stuff like that. But in the paid version, you don't have to credit people.
Exactly.
Which, even though I'm paying for it, I still reference, like, if I'm using any music, I will usually put that in there.
I also
I'll try
try
and
to do it
reference
all the
sound
time.
effects. Yeah, like, because at the end of the day, okay, I might not be putting in a full comprehensive list of like every effect I put in there, because sometimes it can be a little too long to realistically get in the description. But I'll still generally try and put it in there, because, as you say, sometimes people hear like the music and they want to hear more of it. And even if not, like, that's still someone else's piece of content that I've used to like help shape my own content. So it's nice to be able to like give something back to say, hey, look, I got like this thing here. Like, realistically speaking, that's pretty much the entire Creative Commons license. Obviously, there's slightly different versions of it, but generally speaking, Creative Commons is saying, look, yeah, you can use this content for like your content. Just give credit for it. Like, so it is a bit of a shame that some folks don't add that in. Some folks do add that in though, and I think fair play to those who do try and like help promote each other and share what they do. I think that is a really big thing, something we should try and recognize and like give kudos to for more.
I'm not sure if we talked about this last time, but I find it in general very sad that content creators often don't want to share knowledge, want to work together. So I really appreciate it. First thing here to say that you are coming to this channel and talk to me again. This is always great. But also, yeah, I'm all for it to share knowledge. I mentioned it in the past. I will do a wiki at some point where I put all the informations out there, what I'm using, what others are using. I think it's necessary.
It definitely helps. So, like, some creators are great, they're happy to share. Others say they're happy to share, but just never really get to it for one reason or another, whether they've changed their mind or they don't have time or whatever. I don't know. And then others do get a little bit like, this is the thing that people kind of forget when it comes to content creation. They say content creators like, we're one group, and while technically we are, it's a very broad term. Like, you get people from all walks of life and all kinds of personalities, all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of beliefs and thought processes. So it's very hard to say that like one thing applies to all usually. So yeah, you get some who don't share all, others who are more than willing to share. And sometimes it can be just very difficult to try and find like-minded folks, I think, because there's so much out there that can be between you and your target, so to speak.
Since you're in the VTuber scene also a little bit, how is there on the one side the sharing of information, and how hard is it, since we are also on the topic of problems?
Typically, I find finding information for VTube and stuff like that isn't too difficult. There's a lot of good resources out there. Generally speaking, most of the VTubers I've spoke to are pretty open about some of the ways they do things in terms of like the tools they use and like programs to be able to get started. And there's various assets out there. As with all kinds of styles of content creation, you've got to put in the effort to go look. But generally speaking, most folks seem to be a little more open to like talking and maybe give it a bit of a hand if you need it. In terms of problems, it's a whole different style in ways that you wouldn't necessarily even think about. For example, some VTubers don't like to show their face. They like streaming, but they don't put out any details about who they are or what they do. Obviously, no one wants to get doxxed, but some people very much like kind of hide behind the VTuber model so that they can get the joy of streaming while still leading private lives. While other people, like myself, for example, do it more just for the styling, not because we're necessarily trying to hide. So in terms of like the problems in that, I think it's kind of hard to say because I think again there's so many different people out there, there's so many different reasons. There can definitely be problems in VTubing, but I think a lot of it ends up, at least in my experience, ends up being not too dissimilar to other styles of streaming. It's just you're playing more of a character usually than what streamers who use web cameras, for example, tend to do, if that makes sense. It's almost as if you're role playing a character in some instances.
That's totally true. I guess everybody who streams and also does YouTube, especially at the beginning, has fears. For me, it was really a progression. I started making, as I mentioned, kind of compilation videos about the LAN parties without any voices from us. Then I slowly got used to that idea to have interviews, so I get used to my own voice because everybody hates their own voice. And at some point, interview guest basically said, "Hey, how about doing a review of a show where we basically use our webcams to talk and have our face revealed basically on the internet?" At first I thought, I don't want to. I really not comfortable with that idea. And now I think, why not? Why not? Okay, here's an ugly Austrian guy. Who cares, basically? Who cares? It's me. It's my profile. Deal with it.
Pretty much. A lot of it is kind of a case of self-discovery in some ways, isn't it? Like you finding what works for you as much as anything.
Exactly. And I think it's totally normal to fear, in a way, yourself, your voice, your optics, everything. It's you have to get used to so many things if you do this. And the good thing is you don't have to do anything here. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to show your voice. You don't have to present your voice. You can do whatever you want here. Just make guide videos with text. This is also totally fine, I would say.
It is, it's very much finding what works for you, like the style you want, how you want to do things. Like ultimately, so long as you're not hurting anyone and you're sticking within terms of service, because otherwise Twitch will close your channel, unfortunately. But so long as you're sticking with those, you're free to do whatever you want. Like we've kind of gone full circle in a way back to what we were saying earlier about trying new things to see what works and that. And it's the same kind of thing. Like you start out and you try different things to see what works for you. But then even as your confidence grows and you learn more, you continue trying new things just to see what's possible, just to see what can be done. And you continue to grow. Like your growth never stops. At least you want your growth never to stop, because otherwise that means your content also stops growing as well.
Definitely, the experimentation phase is definitely very important. But what also is very important, I think, is that you don't get pressured into doing things because everybody does it the same way. For example,
Yeah.
I don't think it's really necessary on a game stream to show a face. You, for example, you do something very unique here, and I really love what you're doing, so don't get me wrong there. But if you just enjoy a game, basically, it's sometimes more than enough to show the game.
Yeah, if you just will show the game, you can just show the game. Like you don't have to show other elements. Again, it's coming down to what you want to do. Like there is the side of it of do you want to grow what appeals to your audience? And yeah, absolutely, that is something you want to consider. But at the end of the day, it's a case of, well, I'm happy in what I'm doing. I'm content in what I'm doing. Am I putting more, do I want to put more focus on doing what I enjoy, or do I want to put more focus on trying to like draw in more attention? Like if they both go hand in hand, great. Sometimes they don't. It's like, fine, do what you enjoy. Because ultimately, I know I've had this discussion with a few people when they start out. It's if you start doing stuff you don't enjoy to try and chase after growth and stuff like that, yeah, you may grow, may being the key word, but even if you do, 6 months, 12 months, however long down the line, eventually you're going to get fed up. You're going to stop doing it. And we were saying earlier about the amount of effort we put in to do this kind of stuff, and it's because we enjoy it. But if you're no longer enjoying it, then why are you putting in that much effort anymore?
And also, for me, as an example, I don't enjoy looking at a stranger's face basically when he's doing a playthrough of a game. It's something completely different. For example, what we are doing here now, we're having a discussion. So there, I like to see the audience, not the audience, the guests and the host, and what he's eating for breakfast. Totally fine. But yeah, if it's just game content, I want to see the game primarily. If he has a funny background idea or a community which supports him in unique ways, like what you present here, this is something completely else. But if you just have a nice gameplay, yeah, like I mentioned, it can be enough. For me, at least.
Yeah, it really does come down to what you want to do. Like, if you're happy in what you do, then keep doing what you do. Whether you've got a big fancy like overlay with lots of stuff happening, or you just sat enjoying the gameplay itself, keep doing what you want to do. That is the freeing part of content creation.
What do you think about overlays? I really don't like them, for example, because, like I said many times now, I want to see the game and not overlays.
Me, I like them, but I do think there needs to be a point of why are you adding each element? Because it can become too much. So exactly. It's like, for me, my stuff is added because, okay, I'm playing the game, but you're also like coming for the interactive part and for some of my personality, I like to think. So my overlays are there to work in tandem with that, like with my VTuber model, and then allowing people to say, catch me in the net and such. So it's all there to kind of build into like part of the story of the stream. I'm playing a game, but I'm also like talking with chat and such. I do think that given what I've seen, like some things in the past, sometimes people may overbloat their overlays, in my personal opinion. I like to see overlays because I think it adds more. I generally don't watch people play games just for the game itself. If I'm watching someone, I'm watching for their personality and the community as much as the game. I think the overlays help with that. But But there's definitely a point of no return with them. I remember seeing a clip years ago of someone. This was maybe going a bit too far. I don't know if it was me being a scout leader and being wary of fire, but someone had their webcam on and they had flamethrowers in the background. Yeah, flamethrowers. Flamethrower boxes where DJ set up lights and like full disco music and all sorts. And like every time they were streaming Fortnite, and every time they got a kill, they were like hitting a button and disco lights would go off, music would start playing, flamethrowers were literally going up, like shooting up in the room behind them, literal fire shooting up, blinding their web cameras, so everything just got flashbanged for a moment. And it's like, at the end of the day, if they were having fun, that's their stream, that's for them to do. But for me personally, that's getting too much. Like, you've got way too much going on there. You're just overwhelming your audience. I'm not sure how you can watch that and find that like entertaining in a positive manner, if you know what I mean.
To be honest, this is a very unique case. And I think those unique cases totally are amazing, and they should have their overlays. But I don't think it should be a rule that you must have overlays, or that you that only a stream with overlays is good.
No, it is very much that there is no rule that you must have overlays.
We mentioned many times.
I have heard people say stuff like that in the past, and I've argued against it. Like, if you want to help pull in more of an audience, then overlays is a good way of doing it. Yes, that is true. But to say that you must have overlays or a stream can't be good without, that's really just being ignorant and borderline gatekeeping, realistically. I'm heavily against that way of thinking.
What you also mentioned is talking and gaming. For me, sometimes it's hard to do both, especially
yes.
if I have to
yes.
read in a different language. Yeah, you hear it. It's not my native language. Yeah, you have to translate what you read. You have to read the chat, and you have to follow the storyline. Ooh, that's a little bit hard sometimes.
Yeah, I can completely get that. Like, I stream in my native language, so I don't have that extra complexity. But even so, I really struggle sometimes. And I make it quite clear, like, I don't claim to be the best at video games anyway. But my ability to play games on stream is far less than my ability to play games just generally. Because you're multitasking. I've explained this like a lot of times before. But like when you're streaming, you're playing the game, you're talking to chat, you're checking your OBS, you're monitoring for like any bots or anything. Like, you're trying to multitask so much that there's a lot for you to take in, and it is difficult. Like, and it does mean, so when people start, it's one thing to joke around with streamers when they do something daft in a game because like they weren't paying attention or dealing with something else. But I do think that some folks kind of take it a little bit too far. Like, yes, we're doing a lot. Like, give us a break here. You're trying to juggle several elements at once. So it's something that just needs to be people need to bear in mind as viewers, to not like go after streamers too hard when they make a simple mistake for it.
And would you say you can really enjoy the games playing it live?
Yeah. I would absolutely say you can. It does depend on the game. And there are games that I've stopped playing on stream because I haven't been able to enjoy the game itself. For example, I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 with my brother on stream, and we've decided to stop it. I'd rather play it in my own time. So there are cases where, you would rather play a game off stream for you to be able to maximize your enjoyment of the game. Having said that, you can also get more enjoyment out of a game through streaming it, because suddenly you're playing through the game with your community. You're getting to share that experience with your community. So as I said, I've stopped playing Baldur's Gate on stream, but say Mass Effect, when I was streaming that, we were having a lot of talks in chat about some of like the ethics and morality of some of the decisions that the game makes you make. And if anything, that added to the game and we got more enjoyment out of it as a result. So I would say it very much depends on the person playing the game itself, and their style of streaming. Sometimes you're going to get more enjoyment out of it through streaming. Other times you might prefer to play it just playing the game. That's something that realistically is down to each individual person, I think.
I think another aspect here is also it's down to the different games. For example, side-scroller, jump and run experience, there isn't so much story elements which you really have to follow. You have to go from the left to the right most of the time. So it's, I guess, in that sense, a little bit easier compared to Baldur's Gate, where you have a complex story to follow.
Well, like Mass Effect itself still has a complex.
Yeah, it's true story. In that sense, yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily just on the complexity of the story, but I think it's how much you can connect to the story, how much your chat connects to the story, and how much you're all enjoying it. So as I said, with Mass Effect, it became a bit of a thing where we were playing through the game. I would stop talking for the cutscenes. I made it very clear, look, when a cutscene's happening, I'm not talking, I'm watching the cutscene, and we're all watching it together. And that really kind of felt like it was us playing the game as a community, not me by myself, and that built on that. Whereas Baldur's Gate, I didn't feel like I was getting anything out of the game. I wasn't connecting with the characters. I wasn't connecting with the story or anything like that. I think it's partly... I think in my case here, that's partly just a difference in the games themselves. In the way they're portrayed and so on. I was having this conversation with my brother. Little things like in Mass Effect, you play as Commander Shepard. You are Commander Shepard. Whereas in Baldur's Gate 3, you've got the narrator who's talking to you about what's happening. And that, for me, created a little bit of a disconnect. But yeah, that was just me on these two very specific and very unique games. Ultimately, I don't think you can set any one rule for everyone, because it really does depend on the person, the game, and their streaming style. I can see arguments for both sides, to be honest.
And did you enjoy then Baldur's Gate alone? Did you replay it alone?
I've not replayed it yet, because we literally only stopped playing it like last week.
It was...
So I've not started it again yet. I plan on going back through it with my younger brother still, because I still want to play it with him. It was just on stream I wasn't necessarily enjoying it. Where me and him are currently playing through another game already, so we'll probably finish that one first. But then, yeah, we're planning on going back and just playing Baldur's Gate 3, just the two of us, so that we can enjoy the game itself a little bit more.
And being on the topic of talking, how did you handle empty chats? It's always difficult if you don't have anyone here to talk all the time. How did you basically face that problem in the past, and how do you face it now? Do you always talk, or do you have a lot of silence in your streams if nobody's there?
Yeah, this is definitely a challenge for a lot of streamers, especially those starting out who haven't had anyone like come in and join them yet. How do I handle it? I will... It depends a little bit on the game. I'll I typically fly by the seat of my pants a little bit. I will try and drive up some conversation in regards to the game and the event, what's happening and what I'm doing. Not necessarily in the thing of, oh, I'm picking up this plant or whatever. But sometimes I'll talk about it in the context of either I'm explaining what I'm doing if I'm in the facade of I know what I'm doing here, or I'll be cracking jokes about the scenery. But if it doesn't feel like it flows naturally, then yeah, I'll stay silent and I'll let the gameplay run through itself, and I'll bring up commentary when it feels appropriate. I guess if I was to stop rambling and try and cut it short, I go with what feels appropriate at the time. I will try and stir up conversation if it feels it works. If not, I'm happy for there to be a comfortable silence, at least in terms of my talking, because there's still the game audio and that running in the background.
Yeah, I'm quite the same. It's also what we said, I guess, 2 hours ago, basically. We are doing this as our side project, side job, basically. Sometimes when you're tired from a long day, you can't be the hardcore entertainer all the time. You also need those quiet streams where you just enjoy a game and maybe a random person on the internet is joining you and either motivate you to play more or even gives you tips, just talks to you. It's so broad, the spectrum of guests you can have on your streams. So it's basically, for me at least, never a wasted time to stream. It's just always different, but never a wasted time.
No, and at the end of the day, there's also something to be said about lurkers. Like, just because no one's talking in your chat doesn't mean that people aren't necessarily watching. Sometimes people will join a stream and just enjoy watching it. Not everyone necessarily likes chatting in there. I know that in my chat, I usually have a couple of lurkers because I'll have, my viewer count will be higher than the number of names I actually see in chat. So that means people are there. They're clearly enjoying the streams because, they've been there for a while, but they're not interested in talking. And again, that's absolutely fine. So if you know people are lurking and stuff like that, even if it's only one person, streaming has kind of ruined the socializing in some ways because everyone's got the idea of 8 viewers isn't very many viewers. But if you think about it, imagine you being in your living room playing a game with 8 people crowded around you.
Absolutely.
It puts a very different perspective on things. So even if you only have one person in chat watching, you've got that's someone who you're sharing a game with, even if you're not talking to each other. That's still the two of you sharing time. And even if at worst you've got absolutely no one, it's still a learning experience. And at worst, you're sat playing a video game, so have fun with the game. You've got nothing else to worry about at the time. You might as well enjoy it.
Especially if you consider, for so many years of my gaming life, I enjoyed games just with one other friend. And it was totally enough. It was sometimes the best gaming experience I had in my life. So out of the sudden, just one viewer isn't enough for you? Of course, we're used to, or we are indoctrinated better by YouTubers and streamers. You need at least 500 people to be successful. No, just have a fun time.
See, anyone say you've got to have X amount of viewers to say you've got to be successful. There are certainly one or two who seem to think you've got to be on the same follower count as them to be worth collabing with or something like that, unfortunately. But luckily, at least most of the folks I've interacted with have been fairly positive in this because we all started somewhere, right? We all made our channels and we all started with 0 followers. and we've all got to grow. And yeah, we all want to continue growing. We all want to see those numbers climb higher and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just remembering that even only having a few people with you is still people who are spending their time with you, and you can have a bit of fun with that. And yeah, we are kind of lucky in the fact of, because we do it as our side thing as opposed to our main job. Yes, it means it takes a lot of effort out of us because we're working and then coming home to continue work of another kind. But it also means that we don't have to worry about numbers falling or anything like that. Like, if you're making content for your day job and your numbers fall, then yeah, you've got to be more concerned, because now you might not be able to afford to put food on the table. But when it's just your side job, you can be like, oh, it's just a quiet month. Not a problem. Numbers will pick back up. Like, so it can be a lot more freeing, even if it can be a lot more work doing it in the way that me and you currently do it.
Absolutely. But you also touched a little bit the topic of the future, what you basically what brain lag. What are you planning currently for the future?
So I'm at a convention in May, funnily enough, and I'm going to be doing a panel a little bit on what we've been talking about today, about getting started with content creation. It's going to be a bit of a test panel for now, but I'm hoping to go to more conventions in the future and be able to deliver more talks on various types of content creation, different platforms, networking, stuff like that, to be able to share the experience I've gained and help others grow. I want to keep doing what I do on like Twitch and YouTube. I will keep growing and yeah, see where I end up. But I won't be able to. I'm hoping the future holds more opportunities for me to go to different events now and be able to network with folks and share some of my experiences in the forms of some of these panels and such. It's the hope. We'll see where it actually ends up being, but that's what I'm aiming for.
Sounds amazing. Is this a local convention, or what is this?
It's a furry convention that's in the Midlands of the UK. It's the biggest furry convention in the United Kingdom. So they've got a number of different panels over a wide variety of different things, such as everything from making suits to creative writing to like I'm doing this one on content creation. So they do a lot of different things at that one. And I'm hoping to be able to do, if that goes well, I want to do more furry conventions to deliver it, and then in time go to other types of conventions as well. Like Comic-Con would potentially be, just to randomly name another one. I don't know how easy it is to get a panel there, but just to like name another convention, it'll be great to be able to stretch out and meet more communities and that, to be able to deliver it.
Yeah, like I said, sounds amazing. If you want to give us more details for the description later, please send me the links. And
yeah, absolutely will.
I think we should also slowly end here. We are going over 2 hour 40s now. Like always, I want to also open completely the mic to you. Is there anything you would like to talk before we finish it off here?
Not really. Just once again, thank you so much for inviting me on. I do enjoy these breakfast conversations we have. And best of luck with your archiving efforts. I hope it all goes well.
Thank you. I hope we have something like this in the future again. I think it would be a great idea to collect maybe some questions. And yeah, we could answer them in the future at another breakfast stream.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I'd be game for that.
Also, of course, in the audience, more or less now, please let us know what you think about this idea, what we are doing here, how you do like the new overlay, the camera quality, stuff like that. Give us feedback and yeah, some of your questions, and we can get in touch later again. But until now, I would say, until then, Sedaris, English, different language, use a different brain. Until then, have a good time, enjoy the games. Captain Sedaris, signing off. And of course, you are also, I guess, signing off here. Bye-bye.
Yeah. See you later, folks.